Hey, gang, this is Carl White, and I am transmitting from sunny Tampa Bay, Florida. And you are listening to Author Showcase podcast powered by the Scotsman's Guide. And what we do on here is we interview some of the authors that submit articles to the Scotsman Guide, both the residential side and the commercial side, to do a little bit kind of a deeper dive into it, or some people call it side B of the album, those of you old enough to actually know what that is. And my guest today, our guest today here is Ryan Walsh. And Ryan is a managing partner at the Greater New York City based Hard Money Bankers. And he wrote a great article entitled Find Ways to Adapt. Find Ways to Adapt. And boy, Ryan, a better topic I don't think we could ever pull. That's adapting is the name of the game. Good to see you here, buddy. Hey, why don't you give us just kind of a 30,000 foot view of the article, and then we'll dive deeper into it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Carl. I really appreciate it. And the first thing I want to say is, the editor at Scotsman Guide, Jeff, he makes me seem like I'm a good writer. He's fantastic. So I just want to give him credit. So thanks, Jeff. And then
they are, mate. We'll send something written in crayon, and they make it look amazing.
That's
so,
right.
And I'm not speaking of yours. I'm speaking of my articles are in crayon. So they do make us look good. So good.
Yeah, it's like with my kids. I'm like, oh, what's that? And my daughter's like, oh, it's a tree. Obviously, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a tree. And they
yeah
they know what to do with that. So So it's a combination of things that have really happened since COVID. COVID was the first impact on real estate. It caused people to adapt to change. Now, that didn't really hit the lending world as much as it hit, say, the realtor world, right? Yeah. They were the first in the industry to really have to figure out how to change. And those who didn't are just not here anymore in the real estate industry. And then the interest rate hike started happening back, about a year and a half ago at this point. It's October 23. And now the lenders are up. Our turn. Yeah. So it's those who are able to adapt right now are going to be the ones that come out strong, just like back in 2007, 2008. Whenever you have a big shift, it's those who were in a position to adapt are the ones that came out as the industry leaders, if they weren't already. But that's when it happens.
What do you think holds most people back from adapting? Like, is it just that comfort of normal, even if it's putting us in an uncomfortable place?
For sure. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest part is the mental. I mean, I've spoken with loan officers. So I kind of, in my position, I'm a little bit different than most lenders in the commercial space. And I don't say this to brag or anything. It's just that I kind of do it all. I do the underwriting. I do the phone calls. I do the marketing. I make the decision of whether the deal is going to happen or not, because it's my money. It's my partner's money. So you're talking to the capital source, and that is a lot. But it also makes it very easy for me to adapt. So I was talking to somebody who's just a loan officer, and I shouldn't say just. They are a loan officer. When I say just, I mean their responsibility is only to field incoming calls. They're not touching the marketing. They're not touching the capital. They're just kind of putting the package together for the next person in line to say, yes, this matches our criteria. And they said all the deals aren't coming in. I said, well, what do you do for marketing? He said, oh, I don't do the marketing. And it's just, if you're not going to be willing to, obviously they see the pain point. They see the leads aren't coming in, but they're not adapting. Just because your title says I'm a loan officer, this is what I do. If you want your business to grow and thrive, you may have to step into zones that you're not familiar with, that aren't in your comfort zone for the last 10 years, right? I mean, it's really more than 10 years. It was from 2008 to, COVID is about 12 years of you could do nothing but the same thing, and the market was going up, so it was going to work. And now's the time where it's like you might have to do something different, and that's okay. You shouldn't be fearful of it. You shouldn't say, "Oh my gosh, the sky is falling." It just means, okay, we're we're adapting, and the word adapting should not be feared. In my opinion, it should be embraced.
Yeah, I like that. I learned early in my career, thanks to the people that I was hanging out with that were, kind of took me under their wing, that we're not in the mortgage business. We're in the marketing business. We just happen to be marketing mortgages. And that was a pivotal moment for you. What do you
100%.
see? What do you see as the primary challenges, and then I guess the opportunities that you foresee? I guess for all loan officers, but maybe more specifically for commercial mortgage originators. What's the primary challenges and what's the primary opportunities that you see in the next, I don't know, 12 months or so?
Yeah, so I think in the commercial space, a lot of what was going on, we call in my office, we called it the race to the bottom. And what I mean by that is, especially the last 5 years, it was just lending companies cutting costs. They're saying, okay, we're going to be 5% now. Okay, now we're going to be 4.5%. Now we're going to be 4%. So it's a race to the bottom to basically make the least amount of money in order to secure the deal. So that has shifted, meaning interest rates are going up, so you can no longer be the cheapest capital for people. Like that isn't an option, and I think that has presented itself as a challenge to a lot of people because they have to turn their salesman attitude on now, right? You have to be able to talk to people and tell them like, yeah, you're not going to get the cheapest capital here. So the product doesn't sell itself anymore. How about that?
Yeah.
So now you have to really kind of be an expert in the field, right? Like service the person that you're talking to. What are their needs? Maybe your product isn't a good fit for what they need, and be okay with that, right? For example, we're privately funded, so private money typically is going to be more expensive than bank funds, but we're going to be quicker and easier. So there's pros and cons to both, right? But I'm used to people hanging up on me when I tell them my price, right? That's not happening anymore because that cheap capital is gone. We called it free money because essentially, was at one point. And I'm in a position where I can talk real with people and just say, yeah, I get it. I get the capital is expensive, but let's walk through your numbers. Let's say, if you're going to make 150,000 here and 10,000 of that goes to me, you net 140,000. That's what matters here. Not that you made 141,000, right? If you start nitpicking and you kill the deal because of that, it doesn't really work. But I have to talk to them as a person and really relate to them. So I find sales is kind of back on the forefront, right? Like, can you mesh with who you're talking to, the different personalities, different communications, because the product isn't selling itself as easily as it used to. And I think that's a big shift, I think, for a lot of loan officers who just, they probably weren't honestly trained in any sort of sales because they didn't have to be. But I find that skill set is starting to, and that's for a lot of people in the industry. That's realtors, anybody. Just the sales forefront is really that skill set that kind of faded for many years because it just wasn't needed. I think is now coming back.
So if that's the challenges, what's the opportunities?
Market share. So I like what you said previously. You just said I'm a marketer first, and then I'm a lender, right? I mean, that's what it is. So right now, doesn't matter if you're a loan officer, a realtor, an insurance agent, whatever it is in the even lawyers, right? This is the time.
Even lawyers. Wow.
They count too.
We are scraping the bottom of the barrel now.
Now is the time to be market share gathering because many people are leaving the industry, and that's your time to double up on the marketing, triple up on the marketing. Now, what's interesting in times like this is because mathematically the sales volume is down, but that doesn't mean you have to be a part of that number, right? So there's a mental shift, but that may be another conversation. But there's people crushing it right now, and there's some people that are, like I said, leaving the industry. So you really need to be doing what those people that are crushing are. It doesn't mean like you're going to figure something out and tomorrow you start crushing it. It's going to take time. It might take you a whole year. It might take you 5 years. But if you're in this right now and you're out there getting people to know who you are, when the next shift happens back the other way, right? When it starts becoming sales are increasing and whatnot,
Yeah.
you're there. You're already established. You don't want to be establishing yourself then. You want to be establishing yourself now. So for us, it's just the market share opportunity is massive right now. And it may not seem like it right away because of the sales being down. So maybe you're like, man, I'm doing so much more work and I'm like barely floating where I was. You don't realize that that's going to come to fruition as soon as the market turns. And we don't know when that is. We don't know when that's going to be. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's 5 years, but you need to position yourself now for that. And that's what we think the biggest opportunity is.
So if increasing market share is the name of the game, how do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of back to basics. And for some people, it's not back to basics. It's new for you, and that's okay. Because that kind of comes to what I was saying before. Is like you could have done the same thing for the last 5-10 years and been fine. So now's the part where you gotta is your are you on Facebook advertising? Are you doing Google ads? Are you doing podcasts? Reaching out to podcast hosts saying, "Hey, can I be on your show?" Are you doing mailers? Do you have an email list that you're contacting every week? So we actually call them the octopus arms in our office. So you never know exactly what's going to be hot versus not. But we have probably about 8 different arms, and I just listed 6 of them that we make sure are always going. They're always out there because an octopus, when it's crawling, you almost don't even it looks like it's gliding, right? The way that they move, but really what's happening, it's one arm at a time. You send it out, it pulls the octopus, right? And it's got its tentacles. Some of them are at the same time, and the whole octopus moves like it's gliding. And it's the same thing for marketing, right? So you need all these moving pieces constantly. If you stop moving one, the whole pattern gets a little all of a sudden you start drifting to the left, you start drifting to the right. So you just need to make sure they're all moving. Data can be a little bit tricky at times. It's interesting. Once you're moving, you almost don't even care about the data because you're just like, the leads are coming in. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't even know necessarily which arm is my strongest, but I know if I do all of this, I keep moving, right? So you want to get your octopus just constantly. You just want to get it gliding. Your marketing octopus, right? And so that's what it is. You need to be out there. And like I said, if you're not doubling or tripling your marketing right now, you're spending your time. It doesn't have to be financial either. Like I said, podcasts, right? This is time. Are you going to networking events? That's time. Like your friend said, this is a work year. That's what it is, right? Yeah. And I love that. I'm gonna bring it because we meet every Monday. I'm gonna bring it to my Monday meeting. That's what it is. And right now, your focus needs to be marketing. There is no. I think some people are, that. It's a good question. But there's no secret sauce. There's nothing I'm doing that is so secret. You pay me $10,000 and you can come to my summit. No, it's you can Google what should I be doing for advertising. You can listen to podcasts saying what should I be doing for advertising. They're all going to say the same thing, and that's it. You just got to get it moving and scale it as you start moving quicker.
It surprises me on how well the Google advertising, you bring that up. So I'm a residential branch manager, one of the largest branches in the nation. And I have to take what the team came. And dude, I cannot believe you use the term octopus. We use that exact same term. And we think of it like you have 8 arms feeding one mouth and you have 8 arms protecting one body. And it's all these different things. So That's love funny. Your octopus. I thought we were original on that, but apparently
that's funny.
Yeah. Apparently you scooped us on it. We might have saw you post that somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, we're seeing the Google ads convert surprisingly well. So we're seeing on Facebook and Zillow leads, they convert somewhere between 0 and 2% at the highest. A referred lead, say from real estate agent, an attorney, financial planner, something like that, converts at 25%. Well, these Google ads, they're right at 15 to 17%. And really boy, when we saw that, we pretty much stopped our social media marketing because it's such a small little piece. It makes us feel important. It makes us feel, we turn on Facebook and we see our own ad and we go, oh, we've arrived now. But when we actually measured it, these Google ads are just unbelievable. They're working really well. Hey, so Are you seeing, are there an increase in foreclosures in the commercial market?
Yes. The short answer is yes. Is it enough to rock the boat yet? No. But it does show, and we're all about data and just following. We try not to speculate in the lending world as best we can, but the data is currently showing yes, the default rate is increasing. So that's definitely something we watch closely because banks are watching closely. So on private money, and banks are an exit strategy, right? And that's important for everybody. Everybody should always be following what exit strategies are doing. So yeah, foreclosures are happening in the commercial space. There's just mainly because extensions aren't happening, right? Everybody's getting a little spooked right now, saying, I don't know. When you say I don't know, that means you don't extend yourself, which I guess maybe that's where extensions come from there. So yeah, it's I don't want to say scary yet, but it is something to be watching, because it's an indicator for sure that payments aren't being made. Is the economy slowing down? It's almost like depends what section you're in, right? But it's all things to keep an eye on for sure. I think that's what it is. Just right now, it's a lot of keeping your eyes on different indicators right now. Pricing, huge one. Foreclosures, days on market. These are all things that we keep a very close eye on. And days on market means something selling fast or slow. Right now, we're at about 1 point, depending on the asset class, right? I mean, this data is different for all of it, but we're about 1.5 months for days on market, where a year ago was like 0.8 months. Like it's crazy.
It's like double.
Yeah. So it's exactly. So that's the it doesn't seem like much, like 1.5. You're like, yeah, that's still very fast. And it is. But like you said, that's double the pace of what it was at a year ago. And that's what you got to keep in mind, because that means it could be double next year, right? So you just want to keep your eye on those types of things, at least if you're trying to somewhat predict where the market's going to go.
Yeah. In your article, which is a great read, and again, just a reminder to our listeners, it's in the October edition of the commercial side of the Scotsman Guide. And again, we're talking with Ryan Walsh, and the name of the article was Find Ways to Adapt. In the article, you talked about how the adjustable rate mortgages were, heck, here a couple of years ago, they were 2% and 3%. Now they're, high single, 8%, 9%, 10%, they're all over the place. How should mortgage professionals, is this a good time to be reaching out to people that have adjustable rate mortgages and look at all other options?
Yeah. Yes, it's when you see, it's kind of just data. You go back to 2007, you look at the amount of arms that were out there. It's happening again, which is kind of weird in my opinion. I have my own thoughts on arms, I guess, and it's probably not positive ones. I don't think they should even exist in my opinion, because they're just set. They just set people up for failure. They really do. And what I still don't understand is how lower qualified people are the ones that qualify for arms. That just blows my mind. And what I mean by that is the reason why people take arms a lot of the times is because they did not qualify for the fixed rate. So they then go get an arm because it's the next thing they can do. So yeah, when the rates go down, it's going to help them, but they're also going to be the least likely to be able to succeed if rates go up. So right now you're seeing even more arms go out at these 8% rates. And it's like people are just crossing your fingers that Fed is done doing what they're doing. But it's all speculation. And that's way too much risk for me. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. Like I'm openly against arms, I guess. So, but to your question, Yeah, now is a really good time. That if you're an investor yourself, trying to find property deals or anything like that, those are definitely people you should be talking to. Especially if you're qualified and kind of can get them out of a tough situation. It's a good time to be reaching out to them. A lot of times I get requests to refinance people out of them, and it's just like they're already in such a tough spot that I can't do anything for them. But maybe if somebody who is qualified could take it over, that could change things. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea, a great way to find projects or just clients or referrals. I think it's a really good
Mm-hmm.
target.
Yeah. I think the important part of adapting, which is the title of your article, is to know what's coming up and to be able to adapt either ideally ahead of time or at least very rapidly once it hits, because it's not a total surprise. Uh, what's your right? Do you have some recommended sources of like reputable financial news for mortgage professionals so they have an idea of what's coming on the horizon and less likely to get blindsided?
That's an excellent question. And I probably would have said like 6, 7 years ago, yeah. Now, not really. And what I mean is just that outside of personal network, like I know people at banks, I know people at certain industries, and I just talk to them, and I find that is the most accurate data because whenever an article comes out, whether it's CNBC or whatever, the next day I read a counter article saying the exact opposite thing. So it's a tricky space to navigate via Google in terms of finding information that is not confirmation bias. Like we could probably go down that whole rabbit hole. I mean, I think technology is a double-edged sword right now because it's so catered to you that it just confirms what you believe. And you know, so is there anybody that I talk to where I trust the data is usually somebody in the field that I know is seeing real-time data just like myself every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it would probably be more podcast oriented, listening to Carl White, that kind of thing. But seriously, like listening to people that are in it. When I read articles, it just doesn't land. It's way more speculative to me.
Mm-hmm.
Than it is actual data or people that see this data. So I would probably say networking is your best, and just finding somebody you trust who's been in the business maybe at least 10 years. And I'm not saying somebody who's been in it less than that can't know things. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that you want to see the whole ups and downs and who has survived the ups and downs. And even 10 years, it's basically like talk to somebody pre 2007 and you can trust their data.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's kind of like, you talk, and I've never heard it put that way, but I love it that big tech just reconfirms what you already want to believe because they
Mm-hmm.
know who's asking. And
Yep.
there's nothing works better for advertising than to agree with somebody's already position.
That's right.
And I always get a kick in the evening sometimes. I don't watch the news often, but every now and then I'll go watch one network for about 5-10 minutes, and then I go watch the other network for like 5 or 10 minutes. And it's just I'll find the one that agrees with what I think, and it's funny how that works. But
Yep.
anyway, let's not digress down that rabbit hole. Hey, what are some after reading the article? What would be some key? And I think we've covered anything. Is there some key takeaways that you would want loan officers to gain from this article that we haven't already discussed? Something I should have asked you that I didn't yet so far today.
I would just say be careful on your underwriting. Now is not the time to be aggressive. So if you're ever unsure, go with lower price points, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely depends on who's doing the underwriting because if it's not your money, you may not care as much.
Yeah.
But it's better to be cautious in times like this. Could the market turn around like this is the new price point and goes up from here? Absolutely. Right. I'm not saying it's out of the question, but we'll wait for the data to verify before you kind of start pushing numbers or anything. That's usually what I say. So I guess the takeaway from this is market, even if you're not in the marketing part of your company, go market. That's how you're going to start making money. I'm telling you, any business, whatever you're in, even if you're not in real estate listening to this, go to the marketing department if you're looking to get more business. And then two, absolutely, there's deals out there. Just be cautious with your numbers right now. That's all. I'm not saying don't do it. Now's not a time to freeze by any means. But if you're uncertain about any number, go on the safe side of it for sure.
Love it. Hey, I want to just one last question, more on a personal note, and I need to. Dude, you seem like the nicest guy ever, and I can tell you're really smart at what you talk about. I can also tell you're a very humble person, so I need you to take your humble hat off here just for a second. That let's say the president of the United States gives you a call, whoever he or she is, right?
Yes.
So whoever he or she is, the president of the United States calls and says, "I need Ryan Walsh. I need your help." What expertise is he tapping into from you or she?
I in the real estate world, I think I can tell pretty quickly when something's being set up for failure versus not. Similar to what we were saying with the arm stuff. So I could help him with the real estate industry of saying, here's what we could do. Here's how underwriting should happen. Because personally, I believe that yes, while it is different than 2007, 2008 in terms of everybody was getting a loan, I think the amount of leverage that goes out there from banks is careless. And I think that's a problem. So I think there's a real financial challenge here, but you also need to remember people need to buy homes as well. So I'd probably would bring to him and say, I think we can't be having corporations be buying up 50% of homes right now. And I don't mean LLCs. I'm talking about like Amazon.
Yeah.
Because they're just tightening the American dream right now, I think.
Yeah.
And I think banks need to underwrite at a safer amount, because I think we're being set up to possibly have to bail out banks again. And the fact that that's even in the scope of what could possibly happen bothers me, because the taxpayers are the ones that the civilians are the ones who end up having to cover for that. So, I think that's where I could possibly help him in the real estate, is just saying people need homes. We need to think about, I'm not trying to run for office here. I just think that it's a real thing that as America's changed. And again, I'm not trying to run for office here. I think it has changed a lot, especially in the last 20 years. And I just know, I'm almost 40, even though I look like I'm, just out of college. But my parents had the dream of, having a home, and they did it, and they had a home for my family. And it's just, I see my generation and the younger generation where the dream is not there. And I don't see anything being done about that. And I only see it getting worse right now.
Yeah.
And I'd hope I'd be able to talk as a human and also as a business person to say there's a way to do this where everybody wins, but we do have to put attention to it. And unfortunately, we're in a very reactive country right now, where until the crisis hits, we don't do anything about it, which I also understand. I'm not trying to, there's only so many issues at once you can handle, but I do see this going in a challenging space right now, and I'd hope I could be able to help with that.
Dude, maybe you ought to run for office.
I'm not crazy enough.
Yeah. Or maybe you're too smart to. So maybe that's what it is. So so cool. Hey, Ryan, just in closing out here, so you work over at Hard Money Bankers.
Yeah.
What do you guys do? And if somebody wants to reach out, how do they do that?
Absolutely. So we are a privately funded lending company for anything commercial. It's me, it's 4 partners and 2 members in our office. So we're very like a mom and pop shop, but our pockets are deep. So, well, at least relative, because banks can put out 10, 20 billion, we can deploy about 200 million a year. So in terms of our target market, we do anywhere from probably from $100,000 home all the way up to a $3 million commercial property. If you have anything larger than that, absolutely reach out, because I have connections that do that. So that's always a good thing to be able to reach out to a lender for. But that's it. You call me, I look at a deal, I say, looks great. Here's where I'll be. Does that work for you? Great, let's go. So we're known for our 24-hour closings. I mean, I've done it in less than that. I've done it in somebody emailed me at 9 a.m. We are closed by 5 p.m. So it's pretty cool when you can just call somebody as close as you can to having a wealthy friend that you can just be like, hey, will you give me some money? Because that's basically what we do, except we use the real estate as collateral. So we can have that real conversation with you and just say, yeah, I'm comfortable. Like, here you go. It's pretty cool to be able to do that with us.
So, all right, that's it. So, hey, listeners, thanks so much for listening to us and letting us be a part of your day. And one thing that myself, Ryan, and the awesome team over at Scotsman Guide ask is for this episode to 3 of your favorite loan officer friends, that they'll thank you for it, and certainly we will too. And helping us get the word out is a way of giving a way of paying back this free service that we provide to you guys. So thanks again. We appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next episode of Author Showcase, powered by the Scotsman Guide. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.